hour. It's about nothing. Okay, I'm ready when you are.
All right, we are live.
All right. From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Greed.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it? Whether we're young or old.
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. Nathan,
This is Conlon.
Andrew?
I have an exciting show for you tonight. I talk more about to round out our Kurosawa Odyssey.
The end of Filmstruck.
The end of Filmstruck, and I think we've seen about every Kurosawa movie except Ran.
Yeah.
Which you can,
Well, that they have on there. He's made tons of movies.
well, I mean movies that are approachable, just dense like camera movement and people staring at each other. So yeah. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Of course, we've been so consistent recording episodes lately. By the time we finish this one, I've got 3 more to put up, and that'll probably use all our bandwidth for next month. So. Oh, the dirty end of poor podcasting.
Should start a Patreon where we give money to ourselves.
Yeah. Thanks to all our Patreon supporters who gave $25 last year. No, but here we are, heading towards the end of another amazing year.
I always like the ones that point out. It's like, you want to know how long this year is? Black Panther came out last year. So long this year is.
Yep. Oh, and then what were we talking about before the show started? Something interesting.
Books?
Yeah, no, it was something, I don't know. I was going to pull up an article, but then I forgot. There'll be another Mars mission landing on Monday, November 26th. This is the one that's going to dig into the ground.
Yeah.
And then Mac and Me is going to happen. Exactly
Yes.
like the movie.
And then in 2020, another Curiosity rover is going to go. But this one's going to just roll around in a crater and look for carbon. Whatever high science that is.
I thought they had like a private sector, like manned mission set up in the near future, like in the next 8 or 10 years. They had supposedly set up and taking volunteers for it and shit.
Well, there was some like European thing that was like, hey, we're taking volunteers to go to Mars. There's no return. You will die on Mars. But that shit never came through at all because there was no money behind that. The billions of dollars required to send people to Mars.
Tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
$1 trillion to
To
get to
send
Mars.
corpses to Mars.
Yeah, send people on Mars to die. It's like you can die on Earth a lot cheaper than that.
I mean, there are like, they've been planning manned missions to Mars, for the past 50 years, but the problem is, the money it takes to do that.
And there's always the variables. I mean, getting to the moon was difficult. There were variables in that. There were constant problems, because they were cut off. I mean, watch Apollo 13. It's like they had a ground communication, but they had to figure out all kinds of solutions to problems just going to the moon, which you can clearly see from Earth every night, or most nights.
And then, like, the moon's, like, still within the Van Allen belts of the Earth, thing, or electrosphere or whatever, that keeps...
It keeps the radiation from frying us.
So yeah, we don't know like what will happen to humans if they get beyond the Van Allen belts. So that's one concern.
I mean, even on the International Space Station, sometimes in their orbit, everyone has to go to one end of it and hide in the water storage unit. They're getting bombarded with so much radiation that water, next to lead, water is the most effective way to disperse and protect yourself from radiation.
But before we send people to Mars, we'd have to send spaceships to Mars to get people off of Mars.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is that you can, like in The Martian, so like they sent the spaceships there, and then they just sit there on a launch pad and they take in, what's the atmosphere there? Is it just like is it just like carbon monoxide or something?
Yeah, something like that. It's just a big ball of rust, essentially.
So it takes in all that and it just builds up, and because that uses the fuel, that it creates its own fuel to then launch off of Mars. And because the atmosphere is so thin, you don't need a whole fucking space program to get off there. So
yeah, but it's one of those things. It's like, I think it's cool to strive for stuff, and I do like the space stuff, but I think sending people there is just going to be just a really expensive coffin. I think that there's so many things you have to account for.
yeah, but Nathan, we need to die trying, because eventually we're all gonna die of some weird plague, and the Earth's gonna get swallowed by the sun, and then it'll all be pointless.
Yeah, well, it's all pointless anyway.
Yeah.
But from the time of conception, you're doomed to one fate. But yeah, it seems like there's a lot of earthbound problems. I mean, if you could leave it all behind, fucking sign me up. But when you're looking at this, is like when the people set sail to settle here, they didn't have to construct a biosphere. You know, if someone gets a cold, we're all fucked. Well, that wasn't. I mean, it killed a lot of people with sickness, but it wasn't. The challenges are so huge, and we go so slow in space. It is just imponderously slow and difficult to get anywhere. I mean, eventually we'll have the science, I hope, or not. I don't know.
So what?
To
Just go
faster.
places in a reasonable amount of
Oh
time.
no, we'll die before that happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, we will, but
No, I mean all of humanity will die before that happens.
that's really sad.
I know. That's why we need to try. We need to.
Only
We
through
need to yell into the
experience.
abyss.
Well, you've heard that. You ever read like all the works about simulation theory, both the scientific and the non-scientific and the theoretical, about why we don't contact other races and they don't contact us? It's because no one's ever figured out how to transverse light, so they all just go into they create virtual worlds, and they live like in the Matrix or something, because it requires a very small amount or a certain amount of energy just to maintain them in like eternal cryo capsules, because they can't go anywhere, they can't do anything. So, but they have all this high science, but you can't get past light speed. So alien races just start to look inward and just create a fantasy world they can live in, because the real world is dismal. It's like, well, you're just waiting for your sun to go nova. So but yeah, that's it's one of those things of like, there's like 10 solid theories about why we don't never have contacted alien life and probably never will, and that was one of the bleaker ones. It's like, well, they either wipe themselves out, their sun explodes, they die of disease, or they find out there's no way around light speed and they just give up and go into computer simulation. Or they just create artificial beings that destroy them, like AI is going to destroy us, and then they're just stuck on a machine planet, which machines can't get around the light speed barrier either, so they just become something strange. And then the whole universe is just a giant computer simulation, and none of it's real. And people with PhDs believe stuff like that. I don't know how much they believe it, but they do say, well, it's possible. It's as likely as anything else.
It's why people believe in God.
Yeah. It's all meaningless. But, yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving. It's all meaningless. How'd you see Cards Against Humanity's 99% off sale?
No, I didn't.
It was pretty funny. They had like I don't know if there's like any way you could actually get it, but they had like shit that costs like $3,000. You know, it's like get it for $15 or $30. It's 99% off. Like they had like a Sony like 72-inch television, 99% off.
Probably like you have to pay shipping or some excise tax or something that makes.
Well, I
it
think they only had like one thing to buy for everything they
oh,
sold.
okay.
I'm guessing that was the gimmick. They had some like throne toilet that like cost like $35,000.
One of super Japanese toilets. It does everything.
Well, no, it was like I think because it's like a it's like
It's
an old
built-
one. No, it's like a what do you call that? Like a fucking an old thing.
One
An,
with the
an,
water
antique.
The top, yeah, okay.
Uh,
What with that?
there was like an $18,000 trip for two to Antarctica.
Fun.
There is a poop poncho. It was a bunch of dumb shit. There was some stuff that was just and there it was like a 2014 Ford Fiesta or something.
Something you probably don't want, but you probably need.
99% off. And they're
Ford Fiesta, the car you don't want but probably need.
and then also they were selling their new box set for $20, but you know they were saying it was worth $2,000 and it was 99% off.
Oh, I see. I did no shopping over this holiday.
Meaning I had to deal with now it's Black Thursday for us.
Oh, okay.
We do all that shit on Thursday and get it out of the way. It's a
Was
lot.
there any-
It's a lot cleaner.
Was there any killings this year? I didn't hear.
No, because like we don't do that shit, or at least I wasn't there when they do that shit where they're like open the doors and there's a stampede. They don't do that. We have things for like big ticket items. We have like a line you line up for. They give you a ticket, and then you take that up the register, and then you pick up that stuff later. So so there's not like a grab all thing. It's like, did you get a ticket? Well, then you're not getting it.
Oh, okay.
That's for the bigger stuff, and then we just have pallets of shit all lined up in a row with prices or whatever on them. Or the TVs we had there, they didn't have a price on them, but I just like it's $178. How do you know that? The ad says so. So like when it hits the time, we just like cut the plastic out and then like, all right, just grab it. And then a bunch of people grab shit and then they decided they didn't want it. And
Yeah, they're just more excited to grab it than
yeah, exactly.
to have to pay for it. Yeah.
Look at this 50-inch Hisense TV.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's like, oh man, look at this is a great deal for a television. Like, let me ask you this: have you ever heard of that fucking brand before? It's probably not that good. It's the Hisense and also the Scepter. Those are the Christmas televisions. They just television you never heard of. It just comes out of nowhere. It's
I like the name of that. Scepter. It's like, that's a cool sounding TV. Too bad it burnt the house down.
Too bad 1080p stood for standard definition of 1990 television. And fucking... Because that's the thing about Black Friday. Unless you're looking for a really cheap-ass, crappy TV... Or like a decent deal.
Well,
on
it
a
I mean,
regular one.
all the TVs they're selling are pretty. I mean, the Samsungs and stuff like that, like the Vizios, like they'll do you good. But like the thing with me, like I don't want to do television because like the thing I want to get is way too expensive because I want to have 4K, HDR, and a high refresh rate. And like when you get all that stuff, none of that shit's on discount, and it's like $2,300. Like, well, fuck that shit.
Yep. Put that on the list of things I'll never have.
And also, you want the LG one too, because they do the shit. What is that? It's like the pixels all have their own backlight. It's not so there's no like bleeding effect. I can't remember what that's called. Shit. Oh well. It's something that they do exclusively.
Oh, okay.
So it's like normally like on an LCD screen, there's like a big backlight behind all the pixels, and they like when they turn their colors on, and so that's like how the light gets to you. But because it's all the same backlight, that means like in between pixels there's going to be kind of a bleed through on the colors,
Right.
Not nothing you'll really notice. But so what they do is like all the backlight. It's like each pixel has its own backlight with it. So there's like no bleed through between the pixels. So it's a sharper image.
Okay.
Not the store. That store doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
The catalog still does, though.
It does, yeah. Okay.
No, I mean, because
Yeah.
I bought a Samsung 4K TV. Like, it's got a decent refresh rate. I think it was like maybe like 1,000
Oh, yeah.
or something like that. It's like a 40-some inch TV, 42 inch, something like that.
They still have the ones that are curved.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
one.
Oh, okay. I always thought those were cool. I have 78 inches to play with on the wall that my TV's on. So my next TV purchase, I'm going to wait till the 70 inches get really cheap and get one of those. Because right now I'm at 55 inches, so I've got, But I don't watch a lot of TV, so it would be like something for the family.
I'm just waiting until a decent... Because weirdly enough, PC monitors, they're like ahead and behind the curve on a bunch of things.
Oh, yeah?
So it's like only recently... So even though like computers could do HDR and 4K shit, there's not really computer monitors that are built to do HDR and 4K.
Oh, okay.
There are now, but they cost $3,600.
Yeah.
And they're not the size of a TV that does HDR and 4K. So
I have about the biggest monitor on a computer you can have. Because it's the Big Mac.
I mean, you can just put a TV. I mean, you can use anything now as a computer monitor, but
Yeah. Doesn't that burn up the TVs, though?
what? To be on constantly? Probably. I don't know.
I don't know how it works. When my stuff quits working, I buy new stuff. I don't buy the latest or the state of the art or anything I have to fuck with. I just want to buy something that works.
I'm just all down to a computer monitor. I used to have like 3 TVs down here, and fuck that shit. Get rid of it all.
Yeah, I very rarely watch stuff on main TV unless it's something like we're watching at dinner. And it's usually Forged in Fire. That's like my TV show I watch. And The Expanse, but now that's going to be on Amazon, so I'll never watch that again. And Lord of the Rings, when that comes out. I'm anxious to see what that's going to be like.
Oh, yeah, the TV show. Okay.
Amazon, the $1 billion TV show. Oh. And that's, is there any movies coming out that look interesting at all?
Wreck-It Ralph 2 came out, and the new
So
Robin
no?
Hood movie came out.
No, I don't. I haven't heard. I don't know any of the reviews. I just hear so many people like who see the commercials for Wreck-It Ralph 2 and it's like I'm not in. The first one was a big surprise. This one's not into it.
Well, I
Yeah, the
mean,
Robin Hood didn't really work out, so I was surprised at that. I was not.
Oh, 11%. Okay. Yeah, I was hopeful for that one because some parts of it seemed interesting, but I did not expect it to be good. Oh, Creed 2's got a pretty good rating, so there you go. Oh,
Overlord, kind of looking forward to with Grayson, but they don't seem to really be showing it anywhere.
no, I guess it flopped and they just pulled it out of theaters. So
That sucks.
look on your video on demand soon.
well, that sucks too because I was kind of looking forward to that one as well. So
Well, I saw the Red Letter Media guys covered it, and they're like, it's one of the best movies this year.
Yeah. You'll like it, but nobody else will. I mean, they said the same thing about Annihilation. Like, no one's going to watch this, but it's kind of cool.
Well, that's what I was thinking about because we're gonna come up on like our best of the year stuff, and I was like, oh fuck, what's this year's the best movie of the year for me? It's like, well, I guess I was gonna say Alfonso Cuarón didn't make a movie, but I guess he did, and I just didn't see it. But I was like, Denis Villeneuve didn't make a movie, so I don't have like my best movie of the year.
Yeah, it's been a dry hump this year.
Well, it's been good movies, but like I just nothing where it's like, fuck
It's
yeah,
nothing.
that movie.
I didn't
What
see
movie?
anything I really like. I didn't even watch the latest Avengers movie, so
well, there's
there's no reason why.
I mean, I really like Upgrade, but that just kind of like it was a surprise, not necessarily like my favorite movie ever.
well,
Yeah.
there's a movie to go along with because it's Sorry to Bother You. That's actually free on Hulu too.
Yeah.
And then there's another movie. Oh God, what the fuck is it? It's like these two guys, like one of them's on parole and is like a week away from getting off parole. They both work for a moving company, but he sees like a guy get killed by a police officer.
Oh yeah, is that? Oh shit.
I can't think of the fucking name of it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about because it takes place in San Francisco.
Yeah, and it's like something I've had on my radar for a while since I saw the trailer. I just keep forgetting about it. Because it's on video on demand stuff, but it's not really available anywhere else at the moment.
Yeah, I haven't. Not been a big year for movies for me.
And I don't know what's coming out on Christmas because probably be the best. The
Well,
last
that
big release.
one with Steve Carell where it's like he builds dolls things
Oh.
into life.
Jesus. Yeah, because that's a fucking the Roger Rabbit, the Back to the Future Robert Zemeckis. That's his new movie.
I mean, it looks
Oh.
visually interesting. I don't know if it's gonna be. I don't think
No,
it'll be a good movie at
fucking
all. But
Robert Zemeckis probably hasn't made a good movie since Forrest Gump.
I like Castaway.
Huh?
I like Castaway.
I guess that's fine. I never saw that one where about with the guy walking across the Twin Towers.
Yeah, that movie. I caught clips of that and I just couldn't watch it. It was boring. It's-
See, another dark Clint Eastwood movie's coming out.
yeah, that looks
Drug
interesting.
Mule.
I don't know if it'll be boring or it'll just be interesting. I don't know which.
I want to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think that'll be fun.
Is that actually gonna hit theaters here though?
I believe so.
Because if it is, I'll go see it with you. But other than
And then there's the Dick Cheney movie that's coming out like Christmas.
Okay, yeah.
yeah, I want to see that just for Christian Bale in a fat suit.
We got Mortal Engines coming out. That's the
That looks
city.
like a great Peter Jackson slash fucking what? God damn it! The guy that does Transformer movie, Michael Bay
Michael
movie,
Bay.
where it's just all flash and no substance.
Yeah, I don't know what to make.
Oh, you got Aquaman and Bumblebee.
I go see Aquaman. That looks like
watch either one of those.
Aquaman's gonna be a good movie, hopefully.
What the hell's Cold War?
It's a
Oh, the Holmes and Watson movie with John C. Riley and Will Ferrell.
I'll wait for reviews on that, but if it's above 80%, I might watch that.
There's that Nicole Kidman movie Destroyer, which looks like a fucking that's gonna be a really like that
That'll
looks
be
like a
like
serious
Fair.
fuck yeah. That looks like a serious as fuck drama. There's another John C. Riley movie.
Yeah, it's like Amos and Andy, I think.
Oh, okay.
It looks
that
interesting,
looks-
but it's just
that's January. Okay, yeah, so yeah, all the movies mentioned. That's the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But there's not like a lot of stuff coming out. I mean, I'm surprised Lego Movie 2 releases in February. That seems like a shit date for that movie.
No, I mean that's when like Deadpool released, so there's money to be made. in
I know, but the
February.
Lego Movie's still like mostly marketed to kids, and the kids aren't off school in February. There's not going to be a big pull like summertime, so I would think February.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the release schedule for summertime, so maybe that was just the best one.
Well, I know the other big kids movie that comes out around then is Toy Story 4.
Is that coming out next year?
Yeah, next summer.
Yeah.
So it might be trying to avoid that.
Maybe.
So that's the only thing I can think of as far as why it's not positioned in summer.
Well, like who makes the Legos movies?
Fox, I thought did.
Ah, I thought that was like Warner Brothers, but
Maybe it's Warner Brothers. I can't fucking remember.
or maybe it's just Disney. No, because then there was that weird thing where they got to use the Star Wars Lego stuff for that first movie, but then they're like, no more.
Yeah, lock that up.
But yeah, so they did the Lego Batman movie, so that makes me think it's Warner Brothers.
What's that Brad Pitt, Tommy Lee Jones space movie? When is that coming out?
Which movie was that? I don't think I've seen
It's
that.
a weird one. It's got a weird name, like a Latin sounding name.
Space
Ad,
Cowboy.
Ad Astra.
What's that about?
I don't know. It's like a guy looking for his lost father in space or something. I mean, there's been very little.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, because there's that one other
The
one.
guy who did it's the guy who directed The Lost City of Z, which was actually a boring but cool movie. And I don't know what else he's done. Because that's like Brad Pitt's production company. And
What actor doesn't have a production company anymore? I think it's actually Warner Bros. I think you're right. I just thought it.
Well, there was a thing that said like filmed at Fox Studio. I'm like, it was. How is the Lego Movie filmed at Fox Studio?
Well, there was the live action part at the end.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, it's Warner Brothers.
No, because there's another space movie right now where it's like the real Apollo mission or something like that.
Yeah, that came out.
Okay, I didn't know if it was
Yeah.
out already or out right
that
now.
was the one with the guy who just like his acting is staring at the camera and looking sad. It was the guy who was in Blade Runner.
And Drive.
Yeah, and Drive. He played.
Gosling.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling.
Play.
Man, it makes
Armstrong.
my dick hard,
Or-
my heart weep.
Yeah,
Never heard
no one,
about it. So
no one
I heard it was okay. It was from the guy who did La La Land. So
No one heard what I said, did they?
no,
I
sorry.
said, man, it makes my dick hard and my heart weep. And then everybody just like talks over it. I'm like, oh,
We never heard that.
yeah, let's move on from that.
sorry.
No, I didn't know what happened to that movie,
I heard it was okay.
but I guess it's not coming out yet. No, the one I was looking for.
Oh yeah, the Brad Pitt
'Cause
one.
it was supposed to be like because The Lost City of Z is just a take up of Heart of Darkness,
Yeah.
and it said I'm gonna do Heart of Darkness in space, and it had this name, and it's like and Brad Pitt's gonna be in it. It's like it's not gonna be a big huge budget movie, but it's like it sounded cool, but I don't know. Yeah,
Well, I
you hear
imagine
that-
if it's Brad Pitt's production company, he's not going to be taking a huge salary home. But
I think the movie's only $40 million to make, so
yeah.
Oh, you know, if you just buy 2 spacesuits and have people floating at each other.
yeah, it's coming out in
It sounds like any space porn production I've ever seen.
after February, so whatever that is.
What the fuck is this? The Last Black Man in San Francisco?
What? So now we're okay. Oh, Colin, did you watch Black Klansman yet?
No.
No.
Yeah, I was telling Andrew, I bought a bunch of movies and I got the Sorry to Bother You, and I was like, and I got 2 other movies, and like, all right, I'm only getting 1 black movie right now.
Because isn't what's that one now right now with Viggo Mortensen, like
Green Book.
Oh, Green Book.
I think it's
That's-
Green Book or
Yeah,
Green
it's
something.
Book, yeah, it was Green something. I just can't remember what the
Yeah.
hell it was. Because supposedly that's good, but I think that's just more or less like Oscar hype buzz.
Yeah,
bullshit.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like, okay, I don't know.
We
if it's
defeated
actual
racism
movie.
with a piano. Or we didn't.
Because it seems like one of those movie trailers like my grandma would see, like Alpha, where she like called everybody that week and like, you need to go see Alpha. It's the best movie ever. I'm like,
It reinforces your belief in God.
but it's just like she always falls for that. It doesn't matter if it's buying DVD or going to theaters. Like she always falls to advertisements. Like everybody in the world says this is the best movie ever. We need to go see this. And then she watches it and it's like, what'd you think? It was okay. Or just like it wasn't for me. And it's like, why didn't you just have your own opinion to begin? It's like the movie is Wedding Crashers and you're like this 70-year-old woman. Not that you couldn't like it, but the odds are going in you weren't gonna like it.
Grandma, you don't have to repeat ad copy that movie producers come up with. It doesn't make you part of the culture.
I was watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and because their online thing is fucking horrible, I had to suffer through ads that would crash, and then I'd have to reload it and watch the ads again, because that's their whole trick.
Yeah, to get those ads twice.
Because FSX.
And so I was seeing a bunch of advertisements for the show called You're the Worst, which I guess is a season finale, which I'd never seen before. So, but because they have the first 3 seasons on Hulu, I was like, huh, well, fuck this. I'll go check it out on Hulu, where I don't have to deal with that bullshit. And I watched the first episode, and I did not like it. It is 2 awful people who find love in each other oddly, but don't believe in love. But, they told me up front what the show was, You're the Worst, so It's like
In live-
you're yeah, you are correct, and I am not watching this ever again.
Isn't that like a really common trope nowadays for any kind of content where it's like two horrible people do something and either they get away with it or something happens with two horrible people? Because Always Sunny in Philadelphia is a bunch of horrible people getting away with shit and doing stuff all the time. And then fucking basically, what's the Gallaghers on fucking Shameless?
Oh,
like,
Shameless,
that's fucking
yeah.
just a bunch of horrible people doing horrible shit all the time. And it's just
Well,
like,
I think a lot of people have tried to copy Shameless. They like that formula.
of just poor, never getting any better. better.
Yeah, because you're basically telling everyone's story. Now you're just trying to relate to. I mean, you're watching Shameless. That's 75% of America there, and one way or another is what you're watching. I mean, it's like tonight we went to we were doing some Christmas shopping, and I felt like we went to Wendy's just to get something to eat real quick after we were done doing some Christmas stuff, and I was like, this should be a Pearl Jam song, because I walked into there. They had some lady in the far right back of the restaurant that looked like Grandma Death from Donnie Darko, just sort of bobbing her head back. Two angry-looking black people sitting there having a furious conversation like 2 seats away. And then, of course, my family, and then people that, like, elderly people that you can tell, like, just were lonely and just want to go hang out at Wendy's. It's like, yeah, Wendy's Ypsilanti, 8 p.m. It should be a Pearl Jam song. And then the baleful stares of the people behind the counter. It's like, yeah, can you not put, don't put mayonnaise or bacon on that or something? And they just look at you like you ask them to, like, give you a kidney. And it's like, well, let me get my manager, because I got to figure out how to put this in the computer screen. And
well,
like,
the
man,
no mayo button's right next to all the other buttons with the toppings. So.
No, I don't know.
Well, this says mayonnaise, not mayo, sir.
What's this mayo
Right
you
you
speak
are.
of?
Well, you'd be surprised how that will turn on you. Like if you say something like it's like, oh, like they said mayo, like I know they mean mayonnaise, but I know there's isn't there some technical difference between the two? Or no, I'm thinking of Hellmann's. What's the two brands of mayonnaise that are
Miracle Whip and mayo.
Miracle Whip.
There's some difference between Miracle Whip, isn't
It's
there?
like sweeter and it's not plain disgusting like mayo is.
But yeah, I always have to but there's always customers they're asking for something very, very specific, and sometimes if you take them generally, it's like, oh, I know what you're looking for. It's like, no, they want something very exacting, so you have to make sure they know what they're talking about, and I know what I'm talking about. And no, sir, I can't help you.
Let's walk this back a little bit and do a little analysis.
Before I give you too much hope and have to break your dreams.
It was
Yeah.
fun.
No, we don't sell Encore turkey.
I don't really eat a lot in fast food restaurants actually inside anymore because every time I do, usually it's Five Guys. The last time I went to Five Guys, the cashier had nothing to do, could have done anything, just pretty much stared at me and my wife the whole time. There's 5 other groups of people in the restaurant, and just every time I look over, she darts her eyes back to her cash register or whatever else she's doing for me, and I'm like, either she's really fascinated by the fat guy eating a burger, or I don't know what the hell's wrong with me.
Or she's working up the courage to ask you guys if you might be interested in a threesome. Those are usually the stories I tell when people stare at me for too long.
We found a third.
Welcome! And they just start running away.
This is all you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, the Wendy's in Ypsilanti at 8 p.m. was worthy of a song.
I feel bad for the old people just looking for company because I don't think they.
Now, is there any specific reason you want it to be a Pearl Jam song and not just a Tom Waits song?
I just kind of that voice, what was the one?
Jeremy?
Don't
Oh.
Call Me Daughter,
Oh.
kind of a song about just people whose lives, we've just washed ashore in the Wendy's.
Mhm.
Grandma Death's in the back, kind of rocking back and forth. I asked Grayson, I said, is she going to time travel? And,
Well, I'm thinking it's going to be more of an REM song.
yeah.
I need to catch up on that podcast. the the fucking Comedy Bang Bang guys, they did a YouTube podcast called "Are You Talking You Two to Me?" and they did an REM podcast. So it was like, "Are you REM me?" It's a really dumb title, but I only listened to like the first 3 episodes and I enjoyed it. But now they've gone through the whole REM catalog, I think, by now. But
Huh. I don't know. It just seemed like a Wendy's worthy of a song.
Oh, it is.
I mean, well, my best adventure though is going into Walmart after midnight, especially in like the Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor area. Oh man, it's a treat. It's a party. It never. I mean, I'm going to see something new and weird every time. It's like the homeless people fighting in the parking lot. Somebody running off with the fucking ring-a-ding donation thing. Seen that before. It's been a while. It's just all kinds of crazy stuff, and just the shoplifters. Like the obvious shoplifters are my favorite because they usually have headphones on or something, which immediately signals to everyone to like stay away. But I can watch then, and yeah, just seeing the people obviously steal stuff.
he's either a thief or he has autism. Either way.
Something's going on. And the people want to sell you drugs. A lot of commerce in the building and in the park. Hey, you looking for something? No, I'm not. Totally not looking for anything. Well, let me know. I'll let you know. You'll be the first one. Let me know. Sir, you know how to add antifreeze to a car. Like I've done a lot of car repair in those places. It's like, sir, do you know how to change a tire? Yeah.
Good for you, fellow. Bye.
Say that and just like wait for well. Do you think you could help me? Oh, general knowledge.
Do you know how to change a tire? Yep.
Jack up the car, take the tire out, put a new one on. Bam.
I got to be an asshole the other day, but I think rightfully so. I got off of a shitty day at work, which is like a 16-hour work day.
Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah. I was like, well, I guess I'll treat myself to Taco Bell. The hate yourself food.
Yeah.
I pulled in there. I started to do my order. And I always say, like, I always proceed, because I don't order any of the, when I go to Taco Bell, I don't order, like, I don't say the numbers for the menu stuff. I always just order, like,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, I don't need to do a riddle. Just, this is what I want.
And
that's a number 4. It's like, great.
And I always say, like, I like 1 Nacho Bel Grande. I say it like that, even though I didn't, I could just say a Nacho Bel Grande, but usually I say 1 Nacho Bel Grande so that they know it's like, oh, it's going to be a list of shit. I better start working this out on the computer. So I say that, and the guy, like, was like, did you say a 12-pack? Just drove the fuck off. Like, fuck you. Not doing this.
Yeah, my favorite is the people that want to run you through real quick. It's like I'm standing there with my family, and it's like, yeah, I'd like to get a junior bacon cheeseburger. Will that be all? We're just going to fucking fight over this like a bunch of starving raccoons over the last nugget. Thoughts go through my head. I'm like, no, actually, it's not. It's like, yeah, okay, split this up, family. Just gonna divide this junior bacon cheeseburger 3 ways.
I put it in the middle of the table and like, fight for my affection.
Put the junior bacon cheeseburger in the middle of the table and then get those Klingon knives. Start beating on the table like this. What's gonna happen over there? But of course, Grandma Death would just start rocking. Then she'd disappear in time. We could be like, we did it! Make a pentagram out of ketchup and leave.
My sister told me a disturbing story from her trip to Hy-Vee recently today. Because we were talking about odd people, and she was like, yeah, it's like, I'm not judging or anything, but we went to, it was like the middle of the night at Hy-Vee, and went there. There was like 100-pound tall guy, like a really skinny guy in a Deadpool onesie pajama, set up with the mask over his head. And then like a 400-pound woman in sweatpants and a tank top in the freezer and cooler section. And they would just go to like every 5 feet, she would bend over as far as she could, and he would just put his face above her ass crack, and that's all they would do. They weren't picking up anything. They weren't doing anything. Just like every 5 feet, she would bend back over. He would put his face by her ass crack, and that's just. She's like, I tried to avoid them. I like grabbed something that went right to the next aisle, like 2 aisles down, like in the milk section, and there they were again, doing their routine.
Witness me.
Yeah, you almost want to go up and have a conversation. Like, what's going on? What's the deeper meaning here? Is this kind of Warhol thing? What are we doing?
Are we making a YouTube video? What's going on here?
Oh, you're about to be on YouTube, whether you want to be or not. So here we get this camera out. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I don't know what has happened to people's social skills. If there's always been this bad, just not as
No,
noticeable.
just
No, they closed down the fucking loony bins is what happened, and this is what goes on. This is what passes now for normal, or everyone's on really strong drugs and. 'Cause
no,
I got
just you can find stories for the weirdest shit that ever happened every year. This just it finally happened to you. Well, it didn't happen to you at all.
Boy,
It just happened close near enough to you where you heard the story secondhand.
I always witness like larceny and crime though when I'm out. It's always like deep crime shit. And then there's whores everywhere here now. I mean, literally, like we're just covered in hookers now.
Oh, I thought you said horrors.
no, when he said whores, I just pictured Nathan having his window down. Just any woman that comes across the street, whore.
Yeah, just
It's another one, Grayson.
these whores are everywhere. It's like that's my friend's mom from school. The whore. No, we're just covered in prostitutes here. All the Svetlanas are out.
Well, that means prices have gone down. Then the supply's gone way up.
Well, it's all people from like Russia and shit. It's like they're not like. I mean, I know there's plenty of.
Oh, they're just enslaving to some local pimp.
Yeah. I told Grayson once. I said, what you're seeing there is like that's slavery. If you ever wonder what that looks like, that's what that looks like. That's and it's like everywhere, like in front of the donut place. It's not like in front of bars, fucking crack houses and shit where you'd expect to see whores. It's like going in to get some donuts. Hey, baby. It's like, no. I'm here for something else horribly unhealthy and damaging.
We're tapping into a new market.
Yeah, fat guys.
These whores don't swear.
I thought I was only restricted to donuts and junk food, but it turns out I can get prostitutes as well when I go out and get my junk food.
I can get sugar donuts and AIDS all in one stop. It's amazing.
All I need is a gun to make this night complete.
Hey, sugar, you looking for a date? No, I'm looking for a bear claw. No, not you.
I didn't fire a hooker for you, Nate.
Oh, I'm sure Amazon's working on that service.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, it seems like every couple years.
Siri, fire my agent.
It seems like every couple years around here we're covered in whores, and then they go away.
Oh, yeah, they're just locusts. Okay.
Yeah. It's like the seasonal cicadas. We have the seasonal whores. They just sprout from the ground after their 7-year hibernation cycle.
They just go back to Chicago or Milwaukee or something.
I mean, it's Detroit is constant. It's almost ridiculous. Go to downtown Detroit, don't even stop. You stop at a red light and you got 3 women walking towards your car. Like, no.
Just obeying traffic laws, not actually soliciting your service.
They don't care if you stop. I mean, they like you to stop in Detroit, but if you got to go, and there's no cars coming, go ahead and go. Because they're coming. But, and that gets really bad around the holidays here too. Everyone's looking for some extra money. No one's turning tricks in August. It's like 95 with 1,000% humidity.
Well, that was some of the things when we had our Black Friday Thursday sale. So they had all the grocery section sectioned off.
Okay.
For this stuff. So all the electronic stuff was run through the grocery section. And then there's people there on Thanksgiving just came to shop.
Yep. Hey, can I get some milk? Yeah. Confectioner sugar and some Karo syrup. Like, not today.
I mean, if you wait 3 hours, but
Yeah.
it's like, what? Walmart's the only place open. It's fucking Thanksgiving. Like, if you have no family, sure, but even if you don't, you should have figured this shit out.
Even if you don't have family, I remember all the alcoholics, like in Indiana, the bars they used to have Thanksgiving. Like you could go hang out with your friends, and the bar would like get a couple turkeys, and everyone had somewhere to go. Who the fuck's at Walmart? Like I need some. I got any Pepto Bismol? Not today.
Well, you could get to that. You could get to
Yeah.
that, but nothing in the grocery section you were getting to.
Well, supposedly a lot of people, or there's a couple people I talked to on Friday, like this is during the afternoon, so after the rush, but they're like, we should go grocery shopping on Black Friday more often. It's the only time all the registers are open and we get out of there faster than if we went there on a weekday. And it's like, holy shit, that's seemingly horrible.
Well, that was other people that are giving everyone lip, is that the people who came and were just shopping for groceries, and then because everything was funneled off, you couldn't just go to the cash registers. You had to follow through a path we had created that would goes up and around and funnels out through the cash registers. And they didn't like that. It's like, can't I just skip the line here? Like, no, fuck you. Go where everyone else is going. There's 3 cops standing there. It's like, lady, go that way.
Well, sure you can, sweetheart. Come on up here. You first.
Oh yeah, the great just sense of entitlement that just gets thrown around during that stuff. Like, y'all better move.
Yeah, that was.
Nobody tried. I got a kid here, or
Oh no, they would probably just have a kid.
no, I know.
It's the only reason I had this. Get in front of the line.
No, because that's always like the classic, like, or at least with my wife, like calling in and doing service shit on the phone. It's like, I got a kid, you can't cut off my electricity, or you can't, stop payment on my cell phone plan or whatever. And it's like, what does that have to do with anything?
That sounds like a you problem and your kid's problem. I mean, we can call child services and we get them like under some electricity rate tonight if you want.
But it's
Yeah,
just,
now here you can't cut off gas and electricity if you got minors in the house. You actually can't in Michigan.
yeah, in Iowa,
Now,
though.
they will come take your kids eventually, though.
Well, here, like, you can't cut off the heat during the winter time, right? That's not allowable.
I don't think so, no. I mean, electricity, too, if it powers your heating source.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like these people were calling, one, because they're like months, like almost a year behind on bills. and then other people that were just calling because like a storm had knocked out power for like 4 hours or a day or whatever. Just like, I need you to get this back on now. I have kids. And it's like, okay.
I have kids and no friends and or family.
And no ability to entertain them for 5 hours while there's no electricity. Like, they've never heard of a book or a hand puppet show or whatever the fuck they would do for 5 hours. But yeah,
They had something on YouTube the other day. One of my friends put up. It was like, my kids. My kids. I can't afford to send my kids lunch to school starter pack. You know, the kids that get on the free lunch program. And it was like a picture of a carton of Marlboros and a bottle of Jack Daniels. It's like, yeah, I got, your kids got to have free lunch, right? I mean, around here, if you want to get your kids on free lunch, you just ask. And there are fucking dirtballs that have like jobs like mine that their kids get free lunch at school every day. It's like, how is that even fucking right? The guy picking them up in a $60,000 pickup, but they're on free lunch. It's like, wait a minute.
Daddy needs a new boat.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, how much...
There's on Facebook of their bass boat, and they're doing tournament fishing, and their kids are on... Wow, there's fucking kids at his school. Like, there was a gang of kids... We had to pay for their camp and shit. Like, the other parents put in money so the kids could all go to football camp. Like, Jesus Christ. And I know who these people are. I know the cars they drive. I know where they live. They couldn't get $170 together for their kids to go to football camp. fucking awful. They don't. These are the parents that don't show up to the games, and it's just like, oh, that's good job. And it's not because like dad's working 3 jobs to pay off his kidney transplant or something. They would just rather smoke dope and drink than fucking watch their kids play football. Which, if I'm honest with myself, I probably would too, but it's just not a good precedent to set.
Oh, I've always had a stance of, like, if I had a kid, like, I would go to their stuff. I wouldn't go to everything because, God, they're between elementary school and high school and even college. Like, there's, especially just like, do I really want to go see my second grader like sing as an oak tree in a musical? Like, hell no. Like, I don't want to go to that. I'd rather go to something that actually has talent behind it.
We did some stuff with Grayson at his school, but he really, until football, he didn't want to do anything like that. He did cross country for a couple of years.
No.
That's a lot of fun to go see those. It's like, where's the finish line? Well, it's over a couple miles over there. All right, well, we'll be watching, and you just go get something to eat and just wait. It's like, oh, they're finishing. Hey, you just show up in the last 5 minutes. Because cross country's like, I don't know who watches that. It's like, well, there goes a bunch of kids running.
Look, they're running up a hill now, Tom. I'm like, no, they're running down a hill.
But yeah, it's really sad the kids that like their parents are not involved at all, and their kids are actually like really good players and stuff. And it's like, oh, good job, son. But then there's the opposite end of that too, especially in sports where the parents are way too involved. You get a lot of that too. That gets kind of scary and weird.
Kid doesn't even want to be there. It's just that's their opportunity.
Dad's yelling down to the coaches from the stands. They got to come and pull him out.
God damn it! I'm not paying for college. Don't fuck this up.
You better make this happen. You're gonna be sucking dick behind the 7-Eleven for a living. Better catch that ball. I'll beat your ass.
If a parent said that, it was like middle school band camp.
Yeah, just super competitive parents and the weirdest shit.
You bang that cymbal, you're gonna be fucking blowing dudes behind the comic.
The kid's just thinking to himself, God, I wish I would blow toothpicks.
Much better. I want the competitive drama club parents that scream out the lines like a high school presentation of Romeo and Juliet. It's therefore out there, you stupid bitch. I'm gonna fuck this up too. Just like loud yelling in the crowd about Shakespeare. I mean, I'm sure it happens.
Oh, did I make you all uncomfortable?
Come on, this is Death of a Salesman, not this pussy shit. What the fuck are you doing? Make me feel it. Competitive parents.
Well, I don't know. It's like watching those fucking like those reality shows of like dance moms or toddlers and tiaras and shit, where it's just like the parents like.
Oh, that's even beyond. That's like God mode weirdness there.
Because for a while we still had like fucking Hulu advertisement like a couple months ago. Like it kept pumping this ad like every fucking like almost every commercial break where it was like this super gay guy in like Texas or in a dance school, and it was like, I'm their mother, and just like dressing up in drag and shit and doing competitions with them and stuff. And it's like, why the fuck is this a thing? It's like, I don't care if you're gay and you run a dance studio for girls. I just don't know why this needs to be a show. Like, what?
Yeah, I don't need the sad display of whatever this is.
Because he was calling
Human Car Wreck, the movie.
Because he in like all the audio clips, he was calling himself a modern day superhero. I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, I mean, I guess you're in Texas, so I mean, it does take some balls to do this, but at the same time, not that much.
I like when Tom Hanks did I think it was an SNL skit or something, where he was like the father of one of these girls at one of these shows, and he did such a good job of being a total fucking creep. I mean, it was like even the other parents, because I think it was like a Borat type thing, where it's just Tom Hanks and this girl show up. but he doesn't look quite like Tom Hanks, and he's like clapping like this, and it's like turn, you know, he's doing all. Even the other parents are like, what the fuck is that? It's only him. There's no wife there. It's just this guy and his daughter, and they're doing these like baby pageants, or you know, those what I call that. Who's that girl that got killed? That Jean-Benet Ramsey type crazy stuff, where it's like, yes, dance like a whore. It's like a 9-year-old girl. Like, what the fuck is this? And yeah, Tom Hanks did that, and he's a really good actor, and you can tell because he was really being creepy. It was so weird. It was almost looked like something Conan O'Brien would do, you know, when he does that real crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like when he took remember the American Doll?
Oh yeah, the American
O'Brien did.
Yeah.
Where he took his doll to a tea party and he had a bag full of pills. Like, you want a Vicodin? It's the only way to get through the day. And there was the people where they're hosting it, like being super serious about the American Doll experience, and you know, and he had one of these dolls, and they were arguing back and forth. You know, it's just the weird dark Conan O'Brien shit.
Well, did you see the movie Dirty Grandpa, like the Johnny Knoxville one?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that scene with I mean, it's similar but not the same. Where it's like he takes the boy, dresses up, and makes him dance to Cherry Pie and like a wig and shit.
Yeah, it's about the same shit. And then I watched this one of people that do dog shows, and I thought it was a farce. Like, oh, this is like some kind of weird comedy, like this isn't real. These people aren't real. And no, fuck no, it was totally real. I forget what that one was called, but these people were so bizarre. It's like, oh, they're just playing characters. This is so over the top.
Am I watching Best in Show? Like, oh no.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
Where's Fred Willard?
I was impressed with the purebred dog show people. It was like, oh, you're just terrible human beings. That animal loves you unconditionally, and you're not worth love. That's really weird and sad. Because they were awful to each other, like just the cattiest people. It's like, oh, this is real. Oh, it's all real. Well, we watched a movie.
Yes, I watched Punisher Wars.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's the one we're going to talk about.
That's Criterion Collection's Punisher Wars.
Go ahead and I'm going to look that up while you talk.
Well, this is the movie they did. There was a planned sequel to the 2004 Punisher movie with Thomas Jane.
Okay.
I guess I got rid of the original director of that, and then I can't remember. I don't even think I looked up her name, but she's a German kickboxer / stunt woman who became the director for this movie, and they hired Ray Stevenson as the new Frank Castle.
Okay.
And then because they were going in a way more comic booky direction, less serious than the first one, so that's when Thomas Jane left the project.
Oh.
It's actually like a really good. It's not official, but it's like a short video out there. I think it's called Dirty Laundry or something like that, with Thomas Jane basically as the Punisher. It's like a really good short movie of the Punisher. He like kills a guy with a fucking whiskey bottle and shit. Anyways, this is a fucking ridiculous movie. There's a part of the movie because I guess the director was talking of like their stunt coordinator, and they were talking about like how stupid like all these action movies are incorporating parkour and everything. So there's just a part in the movie where like Frank Castle just murders a bunch of parkour gangsters.
Oh, just because we don't like that.
Yeah. There's a part where like the guy does like a backflip over some between like a gap in those roofs, and Frank Castle just like shoots him with a rocket launcher and blows him up. Then he shoots the other guy in the head, and then he shoots the last guy in both in the kneecaps. Then he talks to him. He gets some information out of him. Then he just like throws him onto a fence. You know, it has like the spikes sticking out, and like his head, like it gets like poked through the throat, and then Frank Castle jumps out the building and like knocks his head, like basically like further dislocating his head from his body on the way down.
Okay.
So yeah, it was really goofy. It's got Dominic West as Jigsaw in there, is coming off of God damn it, The Wire.
Oh, I got that guy.
Yeah,
Huh.
doing a New York / Jersey. I don't know what the fuck that accent is. I'm guessing it's supposed to be a New York accent.
I didn't really like him in that movie. So.
I mean, like, yeah, I like him as an actor, but I don't think he did anything special other than be ridiculous. But it's a fucking ridiculous movie. This is also featured on. There's a podcast called "How Did This Get Made" where they cover terrible movies. So they covered this movie, not necessarily for being terrible, but mostly for being ridiculous, because it's intentionally ridiculous. And they actually had the director on there, on the show, to talk about it. So that's a pretty fun thing.
Huh.
Well, I heard like one thing is that like when they were in pre-planning for the movie, they the Virginia Tech shooting happened, and I guess they decided to go full ridiculous with the violence rather than like gritty and like, I don't know, enticing to mass shooters or something. So I was like,
Right.
let's just make it completely ridiculous. What's some other? It's shot to look like a comic book, because I heard something like there's only like 3 colors like used, or however so it looks like a comic book, but it also, so there's sometimes where it looks cool. There's sometimes where it looks like the fucking what's that guy that did the Batman movies, Batman Forever and stuff?
Oh,
Schumacher.
Joel Schumacher. Sometimes it looks like the Joel Schumacher Batman, and sometimes it looks like really bad green screen. Like it looks like people standing in front of a green screen. And I'm like, did they just like green screen? Like, oh no, that's in a practical location. It's how they shot it. It looks like it's awful green screen.
yeah.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah, I'm looking at still cuts from this movie. It does look has a strange look to it.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it since it came out, and it's like how many years old now?
10 years old.
Oh, really?
Came out in 2008.
Yeah, so I have no idea how well it's held up because I haven't seen it since then. So.
I mean, it's funny. It's completely ridiculous, but it's not necessarily a good movie. I think it also has the distinction of being the lowest grossing Marvel movie ever.
Oh, really?
Well, I think this is back when the Lionsgate held the publishing rights to it, so I wonder if this movie was just made to keep the rights around or something.
That could be. Said I'd never heard of these. I'd never heard of. I haven't seen the first Punisher, so.
Well, which first Punisher?
Well,
The
one
Dolph
with Tom-
Lundgren one?
No, the one with Thomas Jane.
Okay.
The one 2004 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's alright. It's got John Travolta in it. It's not that great, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
It's a serviceable Punisher movie.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've liked Punisher in every form I've seen it in. Because like the Dolph Lundgren movie, even though I like that movie, that's not really a good movie. 2004 one's not really a great movie, but still kind of works. Punisher Warzone, it's fucking stupid, but it's fun. The TV show, like, I don't like it as much as everyone else likes it, but I still like it. And
Punisher Warzone looks like it was shot in. Like, that's what's the most depressing building in Eastern Europe. Shoot in there.
Well, it's a way to keep costs low.
Yeah, I think they only spent $30 million on it, which is pretty low for an action movie.
Yeah.
It seems like it was probably shot in Canada because it has a bunch of guys that like you see in a bunch of Canadian TV shows in it.
Well, I think
Oh.
the casting for the character is pretty spot on, especially for how the old comic book look, because he's more like kind of a dirty, like slick back hair and like taller, bigger, beefier guy.
Yeah, the guy who plays Frank Castle does a fine job. He's just like gruff and barely mumbles things, and then kills people violently. There's one about the guy was like doing cocaine. And he basically just punches his face and it caves in. And then
Wow.
and then there's another guy. There's like these cops in there, and they're like, and there's like another guy like he like took his gun away and he's just sitting down, and then Frank just comes up and shoots his face off with a shotgun. They're like, God damn it, Frank!
That's a weird looking movie. You're right. Yeah,
It's on
They make-
it's on Netflix right now.
they make real things look fake.
Yeah, yeah. Seems real unnecessary, or just a poor what do we call that? Like an unintentional consequence of artistic choices.
Yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Anyways, we watched Seven Samurai.
Yes. Watch the 1954
Akira
Kurosawa
Kurosawa.
film. Akira Kurosawa, the Seven Samurai, which was a long movie, and it was actually I mean, I can see why people like it. I liked it. The thing I liked most was how it became a procedural of how to defend a village. Like we're gonna have plans, and we're gonna go. Like each character represents some different aspect or has different strengths and weaknesses. And so these guys are going to work with the villagers to set up this thing, and then this guy's like a master swordsman, and the one guy's the guy who Mifune, who was in a lot of other movies, was sort of, I wouldn't say comic relief, maybe darkly comical character in this.
Well, yeah, he's probably the only. I mean, he's the drunk, so
Yeah, he's a drunk, and
he's questionably a samurai.
yeah, maybe not a samurai, but definitely feels the pain of the farmers. But anyway, what in this movie, it opens with some guys talking about raiding this village and killing everyone and stealing everything. And then this guy who has a bundle of sticks on his back, like emerges from a bundle of sticks, and then goes down. And I can't remember everyone's name. And I'm not even going to try to.
Yeah, I don't know anybody's.
Subtitles. So
Well, Mifune's character was. Oh fuck! Now I completely forgot. It's like
oh, I know the name.
Kuchi or something like that.
Jamita was the main guy. And then yeah. Kukashiro or something was Mifune's.
Yeah, it's a couple K's in there, but it just sounds like they say Kuchio in the movie or Kakuchio or something like that.
Well, because that was like his. I mean, the name he from his ancestry tree was supposedly him, but not him.
Yeah.
I always kind of wonder if there's like a. I wanted to go on Translator and see if that would like meant anything in Japanese. I guess because they like Lord whatever. So or you can just be that. They all laughed or whatever, and it's like. Is that just because they're making fun of him because that family tree that was bullshit that he pulled out? Or
Here's my family tree. Well, according to this, you're 13 years old.
like,
What? I'm drunk.
Now take my sword and I'll run after you and crash through walls.
I like how he carried his sword. Like his sword was so big, he just like had it over his shoulder. Like he rarely like had it at his side, at his hilt or whatever.
Yeah, that wasn't a samurai sword, and I learned from Forged in Fire what that sword was called, and I completely drew a blank because I was thinking as I was watching the show, is like, that's basically a sword for breaking a charge, is what that is.
Huh.
That's like something it's constructed similar, but it's much, much larger. It's kind of like that sword the guy used in Ironclad just to cut people in half. Like it's not a sword you can really protect yourself with, but if you can get a swing in, it's going to knock it out of the park. And I forget what those are called. Yamashita. I can't think of them, but yeah, it's a siege sword essentially.
Oh, okay.
But it looks cool on film. So because then you had and the younger guy was named Katashiro or something.
Is that the balding young guy?
Yeah,
well, because they shaved the top of the
Okay, I wasn't sure about that. I was like, did he shave that? Because this dude's like really young to be balding.
I think it's supposed to be something with like their spirit is shown to the gods or
Okay.
whatever, like their true intentions. I don't remember why they do it anymore, but yeah, it looks fucking weird.
Yeah, it does. It's a very strange look. Well, there's some strange makeup in this film too, and all the Kurosawa films are shot like there's things going on in the foreground and the background, but they almost look one-dimensional sometimes, and like a lot of the fight scenes, they were just changing camera angles all around. Some of the makeup and stuff looks weird, or maybe it looks good for what it's supposed to. I don't know.
Yeah. They did some slow motion, like all the deaths early on are like in slow motion, but they didn't really do that later on.
No. Yeah, I think the deaths early on were supposed to be like, I think it was all supposed to represent something about the people that were doing it, and because the master swordsman, who's kind of like Mr. Spock, he's almost one-dimensional, non-emotional. Like he killed he slashed that one guy with a sword, and the guy just falls over, but it seems to take like 30 seconds or something, like a long time on film. It's like, that's an interesting fight and death scene. I suppose that's supposed to mean something, but
well, first they spar with just like some bamboo
swords.
sticks or whatever.
Yeah.
And it looks like they hit each other at the same time, and like the guy's like, it's a draw, and he's like, no, I killed you, and then the other guy gets mad.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, let's do this again with some real swords. It's like, oh, you're dead. I was right.
I lost with the wood one, so let's start swinging some real razor blades around. And see what... But yeah, so this was basically what I call a siege procedural film, which was cool. I mean, like this movie's like 2.5 hours long or something.
No, it's almost 3.5 hours.
20 minutes.
Or is it 3.5 hours? Okay.
I mean,
But the bad guys don't show up, other than right at the beginning when they're making their dastardly plans, until like 2 hours and 15 minutes into the movie. Everything else is just setting up and establishing who the Seven Samurai are, who the villagers are.
Yeah, because like the first half of the movie is just them like assembling the samurai.
And the thing is, you know a little bit about each character, but not like the leader. You know almost nothing, other than kind of his actions.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be an honorable guy. He doesn't want to do this, but then he realizes because the people that were trying to hire him, they gave him actual rice, which at that time was money, and they were eating like some
they're eating the cast off of the rice
millet.
like after it's done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a lower grade food. Rice is really hard to grow, and I guess that's why in Japan it was money for peasants.
Yeah.
You didn't eat a lot of rice because that's how you paid your taxes and things like that. The rice was for the rich people.
You know how they grow rice in like the water like that? It's covered in water. You know you don't need to do that.
I don't know anything about rice farming, but why not?
It's in one of those. What's the guy who did Blink? That book Blink. It's in one of his books.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, so like the reason they flood like the field with water is that it's like a pesticide. It just keeps the bugs off. You don't need. You don't need the water to grow rice. It just keeps the bugs off of it.
Oh, I never knew that. I just water intensive crop.
Yeah, because every time you see rice paddies, whether it be Vietnam or anything, as far as media or pictures, it's always water over top. So.
Yep, that's the reason why. I mean, it's really hard to do it because you have to keep like the pH balance, like before there are even tools to measure that shit. I don't know. Maybe there was a way to measure it, but yeah, it's really hard to grow rice. But that's the reason you flood the rice is to keep the bugs off of it.
I suppose that's better than Roundup.
Yeah, yeah.
Or whatever they use for. I don't know what they use for pesticide. Well, now we just genetically modify it so it's pest resistant.
Yeah.
And wonder why everyone has cancer. And it's like, well, what the fuck do you think you've been doing?
I got the corn cancer.
Yeah. The bugs eat it and they die. They just drop over dead right there on the ground. You think that's safe to feed to humans? Yeah. Nothing bad can happen.
It's just in the leaves. Like, yeah, that's not the entire plant at all.
But so anyway, yeah, the leader of this group you don't really know what his motivations are, but they seem honorable.
Well, they also he's kind of like drawn to service, I guess, because he like talks about like the guy's like, have you ever won a battle or a war before? Or no, he's like something. He's like, I fought little battles, but I've never won a war. I've always been on the
always been on the losing side. He's never been on the winning side.
Yeah.
He's just kind of tired of fighting and just kind of wants to, seemingly it looks like, just kind of wander around in his existence, just doing good, hopefully.
I like the guy, one of the samurai, one of the earlier ones, because the test is the young guy stands by the door and sees if you're crazy enough just to walk in, and he whacks you on the head. That's like the test, the samurai test to see if you can be in the group. And like I think it's the second or third guy. Who's the guy who was really good at chopping wood?
Oh, That was like the third guy,
Was it the third guy?
I think. Because you talk about the guy that just like smiles and laughs all the time, and like he stands
Yeah, and
out.
he seems like a goofball, but he says like insightful things about fighting.
Yeah,
Is like, yeah, I fought many people, but when there's too many, I run away.
yeah, that's the
Because-
woodcutter says that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is like crazy. It's like, yeah, I'm brave to an extent, and I'm willing to fight, but I'm not just gonna die if there's too many people. I'll run away.
well, yeah, because
Yeah.
he's chopping the wood. He's like, if you have wood to chop, I'll chop it. Just like people, it's like if you have people to kill, I'll kill all of them until there's no more people. Unless there's too many people, then I'll just run away because then my bloodlust is too much. I have to get away. It's for their own benefit.
Yeah, it's kind of yeah, he's full of like
Shit.
he almost he seems like a comic foil, but then it's like, well, actually, what he's saying makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You don't hear it said that way because samurai are just supposed to be deadly serious. But yeah, I mean, I can see why this is a good movie. It didn't seem like I was watching a movie for 3.5 hours. I liked almost every beat in the movie, even the romance and stuff, which seemed sad and like predictable. But like, yeah, there's going to be trouble with this girl and this young guy because when everyone thinks they're going to die, it's like, well, what can we do? I know. But that's and then rifles make an appearance in this movie again. Always guns from the West.
Yeah.
Wipe out the samurai tradition.
Well,
It seems
it seemed
something
like
that-
arrows were pretty much like almost non-existent in this movie.
Until like
they
the
sh-
last 10
but, like,
minutes.
guns are like shooting like bam, 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 like way quicker than they could fire those weapons. Especially like the last sequence in the rain. I'm like, how the hell does he have dry powder to be firing that thing? It's like he's lighting it with a rope cord, but he still has to put primer powder on top. Still ram the ball in, put patchwork in, and everything else. It's like he's firing that gun way too fast for,
repeating flintlock rifle.
yeah.
It's just the idea of the rifle.
Yeah.
And it's just like it still never sets up when the guy played on Fune like goes and kind of like becomes a bandit. Like he goes by their horses and like the two guys try to run off and they just get shot in quick succession or whatever. And it's like, okay, the guys come out like, oh yeah, nobody else runs away, you chicken shits. And then it's like, oh, who's the guy that shot all of them? Because apparently, I mean, is that the guy that he killed after that, or like, I don't understand because it's like because they said they have 3 muskets in the beginning of the raid, so the guy that's a really good swordsman gets one. Mifune's character goes out and gets the second one, but then after that, there's always like 2 shots in quick succession from this one supposed musket they have left, or like rifle they have left, and it's like I don't know. Not that they couldn't have been off or whatever, but I kept counting guys in frame because they're like, oh, there's 40 men. I'm like, they have to have more than that. It's like, it seems like there's far too many for how many people are running around on horses right now. And there's only 12. Like, it looks like more like 20 to me, but apparently, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I like that they come back to that countdown where they're just like crossing the circles after this. Like, this is how many people we have left to kill.
Yep. Yeah, like the list of circles. It's like, okay, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. And like I said, basically a movie that is a siege procedural. But a cool movie.
And I read some trivia about like the inception of all this stuff. Originally, it was supposed to be like about a day in the life. Like it was supposed to be one day of a samurai who fails to do his job and kills himself at the end of the movie. That was the original idea for this movie. And then he wanted to have like 5 different types of samurai like fights. It was just going to be 5 fights. But he said a movie wouldn't work because it'd just be all 5 climaxes right in a row, so it wouldn't work. It would be no build up. And then he was like studying stuff in history, like wondering what he could do. And I think they found some timeline that they're gonna work on. It was like this is not gonna work. And it wasn't until while studying it, he found out that samurai used to like volunteer to protect farms in exchange for food. And that became the main thing. Is like, yeah, I like that because all these guys in the movie, like, they're not doing this for money. It's just for food and room and board.
Yep. Well, and it was after this time period I read that a lot of farmers in Japan actually arm themselves and just form their own protection groups, and their lords let them do it because the samurai protection rackets were almost becoming, it's like kind of like people that were error proofing things and get for a bonus. All of a sudden, the error proofing becomes its own underground economy, and so yeah, a lot of the samurai were like they'd work in league with bandits and killers. It's like, okay, you do this, and then I'll come in and protect these people, and then we'll split the proceeds. And so that's it was almost kind of a play on reality what he did with this movie, saying that like, oh no, the honorable samurai will show up. These kind of wandering. It was like, yeah, that very rarely really happened. It was always some kind of collusion, and everyone won except the peasants who always lost. Which was I don't know, because this borrows from this isn't really one particular period in Japanese history per se. It kind of it borrows from a lot of different ideas that happen at different times in Japanese history, which a lot of Kurosawa films do that. If it's thematically cool, we're gonna throw it in there, even though it probably didn't quite go down like this.
Yeah.
This is gonna, because Kurosawa did have a sense of history. I mean, his family name, they were actual samurai during the Middle Ages in Japan.
Huh.
That's his background. He was seen as kind of an upper class person in Japanese society, even at the time he was making movies. It's like, oh, he comes from this family. That means, whatever to them. I do not understand Japanese culture at any depth. I think some things are cool, but a lot of it's kind of dense and hard to understand. Too much self-denial and self-hatred is what I see. But movies are cool. And this movie was a monster. This is a 1-year shoot. They love those. The studio closed it down multiple times.
Okay.
On him, and he would just like go hang out at his house, and people would be like, what are we gonna do, they stopped filming, we've lost our jobs. He's like, no, they're too much money, and they'll restart it again. And I think that happened 3 or 4 times in the production. So it was a year to shoot, year to edit, and then huge arguments over final cut and what would come out, because a lot of the studio people did not like the ending, and they thought it was too bleak. But he actually just kind of held out and got final cut, and it's considered the greatest movie in Japanese cinema. And for a foreign film shot in a foreign language from the 50s, it entertained the shit out of me. I can see why people come to this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is cool. It almost reminded me, kind of like, I felt like I was watching like Lord of the Rings a little bit or something.
Yeah.
Like, there seemed to be some mythical elements, even though there was no magic in this movie at all, nothing supernatural. Other there was kind of a belief in the supernatural, and the villagers' grim visage of like, we're born to suffer, we're just gonna die anyway, we should just hang ourselves. And the villagers seemed almost supernaturally bleak in their worldview. But this was a very engaging movie. And you cared about the characters, but you didn't know a lot of them. There wasn't a lot of tapestry there behind the characters. There was enough, but each of the samurai in this movie kind of represented like a sort of an archetype, not really a fleshed out character.
Yeah.
Which was cool, because it is an action movie ultimately.
Yeah, it's any kind of like special forces squad movie or whatever. It's like everybody has their, it's like Predator. Like everybody has their thing.
Yeah, this guy's the minigun guy. This dude shaves a lot, tells dirty jokes, and
This is the nerd.
Yeah, this is the nerd.
He writes books.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just like, okay, this deep dive into this guy's past and how that helped the movie. I don't know.
Well, I heard Kurosawa wrote like extensive backgrounds for all the characters. Like he wrote a book for every character in the movie, and he gave it to all the actors. Like, here's your character. And like none of that went into the script. It's just that just went to the actors and then everybody else.
He gave some actors a lot of latitude, and some of the actors he was very tight, almost cruel with. Like, it's like, no, we're reshooting that. You said that one line wrong, and meanwhile, like, guys like Mifune were basically spitballing dialogue and performing. And I know the guy who played the young guy in this. He never worked with Kurosawa again, because he treated each of the actors. You know, there was differences, and it led to a lot of contention while they were shooting the movie. Because some people were essentially allowed to like freeball it, and other people were like, it was like you were working with Stanley Kubrick one day, and then just just someone who's like, yeah, whatever, just do that, that'll work fine. And yeah, there was a lot of some unhappy people working on this movie.
This movie was remade into an American Western called The Magnificent Seven.
Yes, it's Yul Brynner
and Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen.
I've never seen it. I've always
it's a cool movie. It's a cool movie.
Because I've always heard, like, I always thought it was like highly regarded, and then I looked up a bunch of trivia about it, and it's like, oh, it was a failure in America, but like apparently made a bunch of money overseas and stuff like that. And there's even a sequel to it, and then several remakes. There's even a recent remake.
Yeah.
But I haven't. But yeah, I've never seen the movie.
Yeah, The Magnificent Seven is. It's not a shot-for-shot remake of this, but it's like, it's almost a Village Siege procedural, but in Mexico, and the same character types are alive at the end of the movie, and they basically reflect on the same things but only it was more like the Civil War. Like, well, I never, in the end, we ultimately lose. No matter how hard we fight, we still lose. It's exactly the same as this. A little more upbeat, but yeah. The Magnificent Seven was really popular, like, overseas. It kind of opened the door to a lot of the spaghetti westerns and stuff with like, oh yeah, people like this kind of story and entertainment.
I did hear that Kurosawa liked it so much that he sent the director a sword.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. It's a cool movie, and it's, again, I'm not going to say it's shot by shot remake, but it's pretty faithful to this, like, from what I remember of it. It's very, very. I mean, well, this story is essentially told, almost perfectly for this kind of movie. For the amount of time they put, and kind of how they do let shots run long in this, which Kurosawa does in everything. It's like, oh, this is going to go on for an extra, minute and a half. We wouldn't do that in Western movies, so it doesn't have a lot of that, but it does.
It reminds me of a fun joke they had in the new Mystery Science Theater 3000. There's in the Macamee movie, there's a part where there's some long shot that goes on, and like, oh, they let Terrence Malick guest direct this scene because it doesn't go anywhere.
It's like a shot of the desert, something has nothing to do with nothing.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking good. I'm gonna have to catch up on those guys.
It just came out this Thanksgiving, so
okay.
There's only 6 episodes, but they're like 2-hour movie. Well, actually, like the first one's only like an hour and 15 minutes long, so they cut it down.
Well, yeah, Macamee's like an hour and a half. Atlantic Rim's like an hour and 20. I don't know. I haven't watched the other ones yet. Like, I haven't heard the other 4 in the list. I'm sure they're pretty bad. But Macamee is actually pretty watchable for considering how bad the movies are supposed to be. So I mean, I'm assuming it's all. I was really surprised about how terrible Atlantic Rim looks for how recent that movie is.
Well, yeah, that movie's just a cash in. It's like Pacific Rim came with it's like they made that movie as soon as they saw the trailer for Pacific Rim. It's like, quick, cash it in.
Oh God, that's like a title similarity movie called Atlantic Rim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta watch that. I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
It's made by the Asylum guys, the people that do the Sharknado movies, where they just like turnaround movies and give them similar titles to just like try to trick grandma at Redbox. Like that's the entire business for that fucking movie studio.
I like how all their sci-fi cockpit stuff or submarine cockpit stuff is all the same dryer duct aluminum in the back of like $1 billion secret mechs made by the government and shit, and just tinfoil on the ceiling to make it more reflective and shit. And it's like, wow, I could have put more effort into these sets for how much the fucking effort they put in. But it's like, it's weird though because it's called Atlantic Rim, but the beginning of the movie, the two pilots are stuck at Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and I'm like, this isn't Gulf Coast. This isn't like the Gulf of Mexico Rim. This is Atlantic Rim. This doesn't make any sense.
Like also, they did the movie called Transmorphers.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ! I can't believe that's a business model.
Yep.
They're just trying to protect you from. Oh, they did some weird shit. This daytime ended. Lord of the Deep.
Isn't Lord of the
Killer Fish. And Ator the Fighting Eagle.
That's the last movie they do for this season.
No, I'm looking. Yeah.
You're just looking at the list. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not pulling that out of my ass.
I thought that was the all Asylum movies. Like, oh, you're looking at the.
I was like, damn, they're going heavy on Asylum this year. Like,
no.
How many episodes did Mystery Science Theater have last or the first season? Like 12.
Well, like first season or the
first
new
season from Netflix.
Is 13.
Okay.
Oh, is it 14?
14.
Okay. Because I was like, shit, like, man, if this doesn't go well, second season, I'm not gonna be around next season because they only did 6 episodes.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first season was financed by Kickstarter, and the second season, I'm not sure how it was financed. 'Cause I know they did some Kickstarter, but Netflix kicks in some too. But yeah, I'm kind of not sure if they're doing another season or not. But
well, because I was like, well, I only watched like half the first season, and then I got sidetracked and haven't watched the rest of it. So I'm like, yeah, I should probably definitely watch all 6 episodes.
There's plenty of Mr. Science Theater. You got about 12 other seasons to go through.
No, I know. I'm just talking about keeping the current one alive and stuff like that. So, but I don't know how much that's precedented by watching the old one too.
Yeah, I don't know.
I watch a lot of riff tracks too.
Yeah.
Because there's riff tracks where you don't just buy it and watch a movie. I've done a lot of those. One of me and Grayson's favorite is the Red Dawn riff tracks. It's literally piss your pants. But you can't. You have to have the movie and then play the track over because they don't have the rights to that.
Yeah, my favorite.
These are the things I got for kickstarting.
Okay.
The first Netflix season.
What's the cup there?
That was just some cup.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
That says we brought back Mixed Science Theater. Like, I don't know if you're supposed to drink from this or not, or just have it as
I think
thing.
you put pins and shit in it.
Yeah, I don't. And then you got this weird keychain thing.
That's cool.
The center spins.
Huh.
And then like a bunch of there's like a bunch of movie posters and stuff of like with Crow and stuff and shit like that. But yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I really wanted to see Mr. Science Theater 3 come back, and I just gave him $100, and it ended up being the most successful Kickstarter campaign ever. So there's that.
Yeah, I've always liked. Me and Grayson enjoy the shit out of those.
There's like
if I had any money, I'd give to their Kickstarter too.
There's like a I can't remember. It's like MST3K TV or something like that, or some obscure name, but like. They have every episode ever made on there. Like it like funnels through YouTube and other sources, but you can get like because they don't release those in seasons. Like they release because releasing 22 2-hour episodes on DVD is not economical at all.
It's expensive.
So they only did them in volumes, and they didn't necessarily have like the rights to all of them still.
Even though they had the rights to broadcast them, but not the rights to resell them. And
I don't know, because like I thought there was something weird where like whenever they spoof something, they had to basically just buy the rights from the company whenever they spoof something. I heard that's something they had to do, but I'm guessing there's different deals that go around because they did some famous movies. So
Yeah, like
Yeah, if
Night
you
of
can
the
get
Living
people
Dead.
that are okay with what you're doing, like they're okay with the parody, you can get away with that. Because like, I forget, because Riff Tracks has a whole bunch of movies. Like they have, it's like on Amazon Prime is nothing but Riff Tracks. They have movies that they're not. I mean, they're horrible movies, of course. Some of them have like named stars in them, and
Yeah.
I don't know how they're getting away with that. But I know like the Red Dawn one, like you bought the Riff Tracks and then you played that over the movie on your like speaker.
Yeah, separately. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how they
and
do a lot of riff tracks, but yeah, they have the ones where, because I know they got like the rights to Cool as Ice, the Vanilla Ice movie. And so it's just all combined into one package. You don't have to buy the Vanilla Ice movie. It's like you buy the movie from them, and then they have an audio commentary.
I hope you wouldn't have to buy the Vanilla Ice movie because I watched like half of that and I'm like, why the fuck did this get?
Well, because Vanilla Ice was popular at the time. Weirdly enough, directed by a Oscar-winning cinematographer who worked with Spielberg on things like Schindler's List.
And he was okay with that movie. That's
Well, actually, like, if you go back and watch that movie, there is like some good cinematography in that movie. And there's actually something kind of delightful about that movie in a way where it's like Vanilla Ice is like helping people realize their dreams, but it is just a really dumb movie and completely absurd. But
because I would rank it up there with the Garbage Pail Kids movie and other things of being like so. I mean, I like the riff tracks part of it, but at the same time, it's like just the visual aspect of it was so disturbing. I could not continue watching it, so I just like turned it off after like the halfway point. 'Cause especially like the mom and pop, like weird abstract art house motorcycle shop, and, like fucking just him like pining over this like girl that he just meets on the side of the fucking road. While him and his crew
is she on a
their
horse and shit, and
motorcycles.
he's like on a motorcycle. He's
Yeah,
like, "Hey, who's that girl?"
It's like, yeah, that relationship's not gonna end in 5 seconds. Whenever you get get her, take her away from who the fuck ever. And like, there's people in that movie that are actors, so it's like,
Yeah.
this is really weird seeing people that actually can do good things be in this movie.
That was a payday.
Yeah, I know.
It's like I do this movie. This is the rest of the year for me. Like, chill.
But no, I don't know. It's up there with a lot of things. I've wanted to watch that one Riff Tracks where it's like really bad CGI. I have like birds attacking people and
Oh,
shit.
Birdemic.
Yeah. I just haven't watched that. I haven't watched that yet. So.
One I really like is this movie called Megaforce, which is basically like some late 80s.
Is that the one on motorcycles or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
It was like, well, there's some parts of it that's surprisingly well done. Like, they convinced some weird military that, like, hey, can we borrow your shit during your training sessions so we can just, like, use it? But then they have, like, yeah, there's a part where he's, like, flying around on this jet bike where it's just him standing in front of a green screen and it's very poorly done and stupid. Like, it just it looks worse than, what's that movie? Flash Gordon.
Oh. Did they have a riff tracks for that movie? Because I was
Probably. I'm not
assuming-
sure if it's all wrapped in one package or if it's just a commentary.
Because I know they do the Night of the Living Dead all wrapped in one package you can watch on Amazon and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I haven't done like a straight up like sync up your DVD with the commentary for riff tracks in a really long time. Like I used to get them all when they first came out, and then it kind of became a weird hassle, and I just kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah, because the last one I saw from you was like you combine the Terminator 3 one.
Yeah,
That was probably the best one.
that one was great, but I also hate that movie. So,
Yeah, I don't.
and people love that movie, so I was like glad to love to hate that movie.
Hear that Tom Baker has published a new Doctor Who novel
No,
called Scratch Man. It's basically Doctor Who versus Satan. And they say it's absolutely the most insane thing, like the craziest Doctor Who novel ever written.
huh?
It's like Doctor Who versus Satan. And I forget when that's coming out, but I'm gonna buy it because Tom Baker wrote it because he's my favorite Doctor Who character. I know it has nothing to do with what you're saying, but I wanted to.
Put that out there. Look out for Tom Baker's Doctor Who. What's it called?
Scratch Man.
Scratch Man.
Yep. It was actually a script they pitched in the 70s. They wanted Vincent Price to play. They don't say Satan, but it's essentially this guy wants to scare Doctor Who to death, and it's Satan.
Well, they did have in the fucking what's his name, the guy who played it the longest recently. Damn it, I can't remember the name.
Oh, well, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Like David Tennant. Fuck, I can't remember.
Tennant.
Yeah, David Tennant.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was one where it's like they end up on a spaceship with like a bunch of miners, and they find Satan on an asteroid.
Okay.
And it's like a giant, like what you with devil horns and red, and like it's say, but then like whatever, but he left that body's mind to go on someone else's mind. So he's fought Satan before, just you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that they say this is like a combination of the weirdest shit from The Prisoner and Doctor Who from the 70s, and Tom Baker wrote it, and it's coming out in an audiobook, and he's narrating the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I might have to
Spin up the Audible account.
Yep. So check that out. And now I'm going to watch Mystery Science Theater. And I have to go to work tomorrow or Monday and work for 4 days in a row for the first time in a month. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that.
Because you guys are, I mean, this time of year is usually slow for you guys, or is it?
No, it's just I only work 4 days a week anyway, so I
Oh.
work 4 10s, and November's really divided up when because we have the federal election, and then we have Veterans Day, and then we have Thanksgiving, and so we get all kinds of we get like we only work 3 days because most of those are days I actually work. So yeah, it's terrifying the thought of working 4 10-hour days in a row. Oh, I'm working on a new model too.
Which one?
You remember? I've talked about my favorite episode of Twilight Zone, right? The Invaders.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I got this today. Now this is the one from Forbidden Planet, which was also the same one in the Twilight Zone, but it had a red stripe on it. And I sent you a link earlier. That's the one that says U.S. Air Force Space Probe 1 on it.
Yeah.
So so I'm gonna paint it because I like Forbidden Planet too, and they have a full size model, not full size, but a huge model of the Forbidden Planet ship that comes with all the little guys too. So someday I'll build that. But I'm gonna this one is going to become the one from the Invaders. Because it's only like this big. It's like as big as a dinner plate. Because the big one that they make for Forbidden Planet is like, I don't know, 3 feet around or something. But yeah, so I'm going to do that as an homage to my favorite Twilight Zone episode. Which some people say is wonderful, and some people say it's like some old woman being tortured for 3 hours. Well, I don't know about that, but... Anyway, well...
Oh yeah. We should reflect on Filmstruck.
Yes, this is our farewell Filmstruck episode.
So, what were the what were your highlights of this feature?
There wasn't really anything we watched that I didn't find something to like, because I wasn't expecting to like a lot of
Any of them?
Not any of them. Well, I did a lot of film studies classes and stuff, and I actually had to write papers. And somewhere I do know how to review movies. You can't tell from this podcast, but so I did. I'm familiar with a lot of this material, but I never sat back and watched it for fun like I did here.
Yeah.
And I did actually enjoy these movies for their sake. Now, if someone told me, "Hey, we're just going to start a podcast, and these are all the movies we're going to do," I'm like, "Are you fucking nuts?" I could get about 10 minutes out of that, and then I'm done. But now that we've done like all kinds of different movies and stuff, I appreciate these more because we've watched a whole bunch of other movies, and I found some things to like here. So I don't know if there were any lows.
Well, you didn't like the Lure with the mermaids?
Oh, yeah, that was bad.
The Polish rock
I
drama.
think there's only like 2 or 3 movies out of the ones I watched with you guys that I wasn't like. I was just either like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna get through it and watch it, and that's it. And I don't really, if I ever watch it again or have to hear about it again, then great. But like every other movie, though, I mean, with you, where it's just like, yeah, I actually enjoyed these movies. It was nice watching them for fun and seeing, where cinema has come from and stuff like that, as far as in the 50s and 60s and even earlier than that, and how it shapes stuff today. So it was a nice experience, and I'd do it again.
Yeah, I only think there was one movie, and I can't remember what it was, where it's like, nah, this is all bullshit.
I don't think you like Planet of the Vampires very much.
No, that one was fine, but that also wasn't a Criterion Collection movie. That was just a movie on Filmstruck. Because also, like, I didn't really even go into like all the Filmstruck stuff they had on there, because they had a lot of, because they had the TMC stuff on there, or Turner Classic Movie stuff on there. That was new, but they have like a bunch of foreign films and stuff. Because there's a guy named Beat Takeshi, and he makes a lot of weird Japanese violent cop dramas.
Okay.
And I wanted to see those, but none of those are Criterion Collection, but they're on Filmstruck. And then I remember being like really surprised by like Rafifi, like how cool like a robbery sequence that was for like a movie from the 50s or whatever.
Yeah, that was cool. We got a lot of traction out of Rafifi.
I really like La Samurai, which wasn't expecting to like that, because even in the description it was like a low key like assassin movie, and it's a French movie. And I always kind of like, movies from like from like the 40s, like up until like the 80s, where they started putting money into movies. I always kind of assume all these movies are going to have low production values, but there was like quite a few like foreign films we watched on here that had like pretty high production values. Like, I'm not sure if it's just because the government paid for it or they just happened to get along, but there was like La Samurai had some pretty good production values to it. And and then there was Alphaville, like that had kind of, that was almost just avant-garde, like,
Yeah, that was quirky and fun.
Yeah. But that was kind of like on the go shooting, like that was like intentionally cheap, but like it had a style to it. All those Godard movies. I never watched Breathless, but that was all right. Yeah, we didn't get to all the Godard stuff, but
yeah, this was kind of like our Kurosawa journey through the popular movies.
Yeah, because there's so many of his movies that get referenced all over the place. It's like, oh, I guess we should see what everyone's been stealing from.
Yes.
Life
and Death of Colonel Blimp surprised me how much I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't get to watch that one, did you? Or did you watch it?
No, because that's I fucked up and thought it was the next week. So I didn't watch that.
That one's really long, but it was really interesting. That was shot in 1943 during World War II. So it's almost like an artifact of like World War II. Well, kind of, because it goes back into World War I. So later on, the point in the movie where it's like in modern times, it's like, that's World War II. It's going on.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be more like a propaganda movie, but it actually was the opposite almost.
Yeah.
Kind of like a sad guy. It's like, well, we've got to get our shit together because life goes on no matter how outdated you feel.
And that was another one where it's like, you thought that was like, it's World War II. Like, we're rationing. Like, there's going to have no production values. Like, no, it's like had pretty high production values. Also learned how Technicolor worked. Have you ever heard of that before? Technicolor? Like, shot in Technicolor.
Once, but I can't remember.
I'm not sure, because you weren't here for it, but we talked about it. But, like, so you have to look at, because this is basically the same camera they used to shoot Wizard of Oz with.
Yeah.
And it's a giant it's like about the size of a car, the camera. And so the way they do it is that they shot 3 strips of black and white into the same camera.
Okay.
And then you take all the 3 strips out and you dye one, basically RGB, but they use slightly different colors.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly RGB. And you combine them all together, and that's how you create color.
Yeah.
So it's just black and white movie dyed and then pressed on top of each other.
See, I thought I remembered something similar, because I think at one point we talked about Wizard of Oz and like the shot sequence for that, and like why like it's the same film stock from black and white to color. It's just the Technicolor when it gets to Oz or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about that sequence where she's like just crash lands, and she's coming from the house onto Wizard of Oz, but it's like you can kind of see the color in her dress or whatever when she's still in the house, but then it transforms a lot, or obviously fully when she gets into the light. I think we were talking about like there's a stunt double or something that was doing. I don't remember exactly what the conversation was about, but yeah, I think we touched on it before. I don't know why we got on that subject originally, but
Yeah, well, it's just
Yeah, I get off into film sometimes.
the way they solved problems back then was amazing and also primitive. It's just like, I know how we'll get color. We'll just dye the film stock. It's like, that's amazing. And probably highly toxic. But,
oh yeah.
I remember Tokyo Drifter. That was a fucking weird movie. Like, I don't think I really liked that movie, but it was impressive for like a '60s Japanese movie.
Yeah,
yeah, it was. Yeah, because it involved. There seemed to be motivations that didn't like culturally translate in that. I remember thinking to myself, other than just being a crime drama and like good guys and bad guys, but it was kind of mixed up, and it seemed easy to kill people in that movie, but then the consequences were huge. Oh, this is interesting.
And then everybody kills themselves at the end.
And everyone just like, well, we'll just kill ourselves and stop all the murder.
Isn't that the movie you said seemed like it was shot in the 80s instead of the 60s
Yes.
or whatever?
Yeah.
A very modern look to it.
Yeah. Look, because yeah. Well, I think I said it had more of a '70s look, but it was shot in the '60s.
Yeah.
Just because it was very colorful. Like I didn't, because I think it was like '61 when it was shot, and it was like, hey, the bombing of Hiroshima is only like 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, and Kurosawa was there in that time period, was still doing all black and white. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, it was a weirdly. It was kind of, yeah. You kind of had to chew through that one a little bit. House was another weird one. We did, that was fun because it reminded me. It was like a cartoon that was a movie.
Yeah.
But it was like this. Why is this happening? Well, it looks weird, but
Yeah.
You said that they were pioneering in-camera effects then.
Yeah.
And actually, my son knew a lot about that movie. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's where the piano eats people and the cat vomits the room full of blood." It's like, where have you seen this? It's like, oh, it's on YouTube. They
Yeah.
use it as humorous breaks for someone making a point to the cat picture vomiting blood. Like, oh, okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, and the interesting thing about that is you can see like, oh, this is where Sam Raimi like stole everything for Evil Dead 2 from, but no, there's like almost no way he would ever see the movie because the movie didn't really get a wide release till like 2008 on DVD.
Yeah, no one.
But there's like strange
Is that the one where,
similarities.
like, the Vietnam vet like is the villain and like comes through the walls and shit and like kidnaps the.
That's a different movie called House.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a Japanese movie where a piano eats a person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it looked like anime in the beginning of it, weirdly, and
Yeah, there's a guy gets a bucket stuck on his ass.
yeah, it's a strange. It was a little hard to chew through that one just for its. But again, that's what I wasn't expecting to be roundly entertained all the time. It's like, oh, this is weird and visually interesting.
Well, we're doing that for our Halloween section,
Yes.
and there was only so many Halloween movies to go around on there.
Yeah, because then we do like Scanners and
Yeah.
Carnival of Souls, or
Yep.
yep,
And Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead, which that wasn't hard to do.
No.
Because that was pretty cool. Actually, so was Carnival of Souls, and so was Scanners, and yeah, it's fun movies. Now I watched some really weird like stuff on here on my own too.
Oh, what'd you watch on your own?
The one where it was 99 different vignettes of what was it called? Let me look it up. What did you watch on your own here? Did you ever watch
I watched that one with Ron Perlman, and it's like they're in Antarctica, or not Antarctica, it's in the Alaska, and there's like a hole in the ground, and then evil comes out of it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
called The Last Winter. That's right.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
That was pretty good. Stupid as fuck ending, but a good movie all the way up to it.
Other than that, yeah.
Well, the very, very ending I kind of like, where it's just weird apocalypse, but you don't even see it. It's just implied.
Yeah.
And then last week I watched Coma, which is another Michael Crichton film, which I thought he just did like 2 movies, but he did a bunch of them.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And this is one where And it's in the 70s, but it's like, it's Michael Crichton, so there's like a lot of technology that they had at the time being explained. It's like, oh, cool, I didn't know they had that shit back then.
Yep.
And because I've been watching The Good Doctor recently, it's like a lot of like, oh, some of this like is a constant, and some of this is like, a lot of this has changed, but some of this is pretty constant. That's where they're like, that one's weird because it ends up being like an organ harvesting thing, where they're
Yes.
like people go under anesthesia and like they secretly like feed them carbon monoxide to make them go brain dead.
Yep.
And then they like take them to this facility. It's like, oh, we don't know what happened. It's like, because they like work out the odds of this happening, and then basically, well, it's within the acceptable limits, and then they're selling off people's organs. And there's like a really weird, like the center it's at. It's like people suspended in a purple room. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, because they just screwed cables into their bones so they didn't get bed sores.
Yeah.
It was really weird shit. I can't find the name of that thing. It was some weird British documentary about, what was it called? The Unknown Violent Event, or it was almost farce, because it would change. They would tell a story for like 3 minutes, and then they'd bring weird music, and it was always like still shots. Let me see if I can find it.
Gomorrah was another surprising movie.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Did we even watch any other movies from Italy? It might have been our own Italy movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised by that one, because usually I don't like to get into drama stuff, but this one was like pretty informative. It's us to, your thoughts of like Italian crime. It's you have a loftier kind of thing in mind. It's like, oh, this is just fucking slums of Italy. All these people are awful.
Like I said, I described it as post-apocalyptic Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, or southern Italy.
Yeah, and then like I started one of the Beat Takeshi movies, but I never watched it. And then I'm not sure what else. Yeah, I probably need to watch Rand before this. Got like a week to watch Rand.
Yeah. I might check that out. I don't know. Oh, anyway, the weird thing I watched was the 1980 film. It's a Peter Greenaway film called The Falls.
Huh.
And basically the premise is, I'm just going to read it off Wikipedia. The world has been struck by a mysterious incident called the Violent Unknown Event. Killed many people and left a great many survivors suffering from a common set of symptoms. Mysterious ailments. Like, what is this thing? Stop it. Damn phone's listening to me. Yeah, people have even like mutated into bird-like forms. They have weird mutations. They have weird dreams, and it's just a bunch of weird interviews, and it's very deadpan and very serious. But the stuff that they're describing as happening is just completely ridiculous. And I don't know why I watched it, because it was just really strange. Because some people, and everyone speaks in weird languages that no one understands. There's languages like Mikkaleese, and there's some language called like instantly responded Decus or something. It's just it's all nonsense, but it's funny in a weird way.
I think I was the only one that watched Following, which was who's the guy that directed Batman Begins and Interstellar and all that shit?
Oh, Peter Nolan?
No,
Or no?
Christopher Nolan.
Christopher Nolan, yeah.
So that was his first movie, and it's interesting, but you can tell. I like how he talks about all the scenes are modular, so he wanted to shoot scenes in a way that he could edit each scene in any sequence, and the movie would still make sense.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting, and interesting. Sort of like how they approached everything, and supposedly the movie only cost $3,000, but that's only because everybody's working for free. So
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's cheap when you work for free. Ask Apple.
But yeah, you definitely see like where like when he got to make Memento, it's like, oh, he's already kind of doing everything he did in that movie, sort of, not exactly, but.
Yeah, so it's been a weird journey on Filmstruck, but nothing I just hated.
No,
I mean, it was all unique. But I was expecting that. I mean, that's and there's a lot of foreign film I already knew about and liked anyway. So
Yeah.
sort of had it on my palette of like, yeah, I'm willing to be patient with things, see where they go.
I mean, we didn't watch any Eisenstein, but
No, we didn't go deep. We didn't watch stuff where it's like a blank screen for 30 minutes. It's like you're supposed to appreciate the emptiness of the experience. No, I don't think that's the kind of shit.
we didn't watch that Thomas Edison movie where he makes the bed fly.
Yeah. What was my favorite weird, strange thing? Remember the claymation movie they made in the 70s where it had the guy who wrote Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn?
Oh, is that the one with Mark Twain, like
Yeah.
the devil and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the devil makes a world, and it's like these clay people, and he just crushes them, and it's like, because I can, and it's like, well, this is some of the weirdest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a frightening kids thing.
Yeah, it's a kids thing from the 70s. It's like, how much PCP do these people ingest before they decide to make a kids show? But yeah, so long, Filmstruck. We'll miss you. We'll see what form it reincarnates in, if anything.
Yeah, or we'll see where the Criterion Collection lands next.
Yeah,
Because it used to be on Hulu.
yeah. Hopefully the Criterion Collection will find a safe harbor. Hopefully on a service I'm already subscribed to. Because that makes it fun. But all right. Well, have a good Thanksgiving, everyone, and I hope you did. And let's get to bed. I think I'm done. Are you done?
Yep.
Yep. I just got a text. My dog's trapped in the office.
All right.
So,
Well, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Colin.
Ader.
Goodbye, America.